Divorce sucks, but it doesn't have to define you. You're not alone, and you're not powerless, even when everything feels like it's falling apart. Welcome to The Difficult Divorce, a podcast that cuts through the drama and confusion to give you clarity, confidence, and straight-up real talk. Hosted by Molly Rosenblum, family law attorney, fierce advocate, and the one you want in your corner when it all hits the fan. Each week, we'll break down the legal, the emotional, and the unexpected so you can take back control. Because smart decisions start with straight answers.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Difficult Divorce. My name is Anthony, and if you've ever Googled how much does a divorce cost in Las Vegas, you've probably seen numbers anywhere from $500 to $50,000. And that's a massive range. Honestly, when I first started working at a law firm, I had no idea why. So today I pulled in the one person who actually knows, Mike Serrano, our billing specialist here. Mike, thanks for being here.
Happy to be here, Anthony.
So let's just get right into it at the beginning. When someone calls the firm and says, I want a divorce, what's the first thing that determines what this is going to cost them?
The single biggest factor is whether it's a contested or an uncontested divorce. Uncontested divorces, basically, in a nutshell, it's, both parties, they've basically worked out their divorce. They kind of agree on most things, and they just need an attorney to kind of like help them to the finish line.
Okay, and then the second type, like a contested divorce, what's that look like?
The contested divorce, very different from a uncontested divorce. This is where the parties do not agree on most things, agree on the major things like what happens to kids, properties that they gained throughout their marriage, stuff like that, like businesses that they've put up together. So these kinds of cases I'm not going to say it will, but may end up in court. They go to trial. And obviously, trial is a major cost for the clients.
So give me like a ballpark. Like if I came in clean, simple solution, simple situation, no kids, not a lot of assets, we just both want it to be done. Do you have an idea of what I'd be looking at?
It really depends. Depends on the obviously the amount of work that the attorney sees when you guys do your consult. Or when a client does their consultations, they'll tell their story, give a little background to the attorney, and then the attorney will determine, okay, what needs to be done to put a conclusion on the case. So it's not going to be $50,000. If it goes from uncontested from the beginning to the end. Now, sometimes a case will start off as uncontested, but then like in the middle part, both parties will realize, oh, wait a minute, I don't agree to this, I don't agree to that. Next thing you know, it turns into a contested divorce.
And that's when we see those costs start to rise.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I like what I'm hearing. I want to retain. What's next for me?
Well, first, thank you that
Yeah.
you want to retain the firm.
Of course.
Second, so in your consultation, obviously the attorney would have laid out your options for you. Typically, the firm primarily the firm does two types of agreements. We do a flat fee agreement or an hourly agreement.
Okay. Well, what's a flat fee look like?
Flat fee is basically what it says. You pay a flat fee for the firm to do like X, Y, and Z. Hourly is the opposite of a flat fee, where we bill you on an hourly basis, and the rates will typically vary depending on who's working on your case.
Gotcha. And so for my case, what determines between whether I'm going to get an hourly or a flat fee kind of?
It's basically like what I said earlier. Like when you have a consultation, they're gonna know pretty much after they've had a conversation with you, like what it's gonna take. So if they don't anticipate a whole lot of things for you,
Mhm.
then it's most of the time that they're just gonna say, you know what, this is an uncontested divorce on here, other than the usual stuff. So it's just gonna be a flat fee.
So we'll see kind of like hourly stuff with cases that maybe like I have a business and I don't want to
Yes.
give up anything,
Yeah.
or like we've got multiple houses or a car. Or,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
So that's to be expected, is that it's just going to cost more when we have a lot to fight over. So then let's get into stuff that nobody tells you about. Like what are some things from the billing side that we see that actually drives that bill up that maybe coming our clients don't see or expect?
Actually, that's a good question. So I get this question a lot, and I have conversations with clients about this. Number one is communications, right? So if you're in a an hourly agreement with the firm, you are going to be billed anytime anybody works on your case.
Okay.
Right? So clients sometimes will over communicate, right? They'll call multiple times a day, send multiple emails a day. What I tell clients is this is all billable work. If you expect the attorney, the paralegal, basically your billing team to respond to every single, they're going to charge you every time they have to respond to
And I
any of your
mean, your
concerns.
team will respond to you every
Yes.
time,
Yes.
but that just ends up every time that they do it, it ends up being
Yeah.
for however much time it takes to
Yeah.
draft all of that.
Yeah.
So what then would you tell clients to kind of save themselves some money there?
Well, basically, to save money is to what I tell clients is consolidate all of your questions, all of your concerns. If you can bundle everything into one email, one text message, or one phone call, then you save yourself a whole lot of money because now the attorney or the paralegal, they don't have to respond to 20 emails.
So yeah, it'd be like the time it takes to find those emails, sort through, answer your questions. But if it all is in one place, they can pretty much type all of it at once and get you the communication you need, but will save you money along the way.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, so then what are some other things that you've seen from your side?
Well, I think like what some clients don't anticipate, they don't see, like it kind of like creeps up on them are like some of like the side costs
Hmm.
of doing a divorce, like subpoenas, process service. Process service can vary really depending on
Hmm.
like uh, how how vigilant is the opposing party at hiding from you,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, what we had that case just recently where the party knew that he was getting served. So we had to have that process server run around all the town and try to find him and follow him and just to get him served, and that could rack up your bill quite a bit too, right?
Yeah, yeah, it does. I mean, like if you have an opposing party that's intentionally evading being served, then yeah, it's gonna rack up a high bill for you. Subpoenas. If you when a client wants to issue subpoenas, that costs a lot of money too. And I think like the one cost that clients are, that just creeps up on them is not the trial itself, but trial preparation.
Mm,
Because like the attorney and her team, they have to prepare for a trial, have to put together a discovery, right? You have to prepare a witness list. They have to prepare all kinds of documents. Obviously, their arguments, their strategy for the hearing for the trial. So costs like that will drive up your bill
gotcha.
exponentially. Yeah.
Yeah. So then let's talk like how can a client be smart when they're trying to save money on their bill? What are some tips and tricks that maybe you know off the top of your head that if my case is going to end up being a costly one, what are some simple ways that I can kind of
Well, we mentioned earlier about uh, batching your questions and your
yeah.
concerns. So I'm not going to go too much into that. Another, I think, tip would be to being responsive to your legal team,
Okay.
right? Uh, you got to have like kind of like a sense of urgency when it comes to things like this. If if your legal team needs you to respond to an email or a text message, or if they need you to fill out a document like your FDF
Hmm.
or provide answers to interrogatories. Do them quickly.
Hmm.
Don't don't procrastinate because the longer it takes for you to respond, the longer it takes for your legal team to prepare the appropriate stuff that they need for your case.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense to me, right? Like, be responsive. Maybe something to add in there as well is like being prepared right at the beginning. Like, have
Hmm.
your financial statements ready.
Yeah.
Have like bank notes, house stuff, children, and everything like that way, so the attorney can pretty much start running.
Yeah. Yeah, if you have like children and, like if their schedules are being contested,
Hmm.
it's nice for you to be like, okay, here's where my kids go to school. Here's the pickup and drop off schedules. You know, just be more prepared, like whatever you can think of, bring it over and then, let the attorney and the team decide what information is paramount over.
Okay, so from the client side, now we've heard a little bit of how to save some money, a little bit of like what ends up costing us the most in a case. So when I finally retain and the lawyers worked on my case, and finally that first bill comes, what does that look like?
Well, a bill is well, a good firm should have a very detailed bill, a
Mhm.
bill uh, that lists everything, all the stuff that the firm did for that time period.
Mhm.
Uh, I think every entry should be very descriptive, no vague entries.
Mhm.
Everything should read smoothly. So, like when you're a client and you're looking at that bill, nothing is confusing to you. Like everything's okay. Okay, this. Okay, I understand that. This, I understand this. Now, granted, there are going to be some things where you're particularly not sure of. Then a good firm would be very willing to explain charges to you.
Yeah, and you get calls like that all the time.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I get calls all the time, and I'm very happy to explain the charges as best as I can.
And we were just looking at one of the bills earlier, and so one of those things that I was confused about was seeing like a 0.2 on the bill, and so it'll read as like 11/26/26, the date, and then it'll give a description. Worked on this, one of the simple ones would be like making trial binders or printing pages or something like that. And then I'll see, the rate, and then it'll say 0.2 next to the rate, and then it'll have the bill. What does that kind of mean?
Okay, so earlier I said that an hourly, the firm would bill you uh, per hour at the hourly rate of whoever was doing the work. So let's put it in a context. Let's say, for example, paralegal decided to do, or not decided to do, but they were tasked to prepare like an initial draft of a motion, right? Let's say they spend like half an hour to do that. So the point system for the firm is we bill in increments of an hour, right?
Okay.
So half an hour would be zero point 0.5,
Oh, okay.
right? So 1.0 is an hour, zero point 0.5 would be half.
Okay.
And then that zero point 0.5, to get the charge for that half hour, you multiply that with the paralegal's hourly rate. So if the
Okay.
hourly rate for the paralegal is, let's say, 250 an hour, zero point 0.5 of 250 is 125. So that
Okay.
would be the charge, $125 for the paralegal to prepare an initial draft of the motion.
And so when you get the bill, it's going to look a lot like that or
Yeah,
read a lot like that. Like
yeah,
say what the paralegal's been working on,
yeah,
show their rate that the contract is allowed. And this is just an hourly cases. This isn't
yeah.
like for a flat fee or
Yeah,
anything.
yeah. No, on a flat fee, you're not going to see the hourly breakdown because you're not being billed an hour. You're
Hmm.
you're just going to see like the flat fee that you paid and all the stuff that was done in your case.
Okay. I mean, that's pretty interesting to me at least, because seeing it from the billing side, we see it internally, but from like the client side, that's primarily what this whole podcast is about, is talking to the clients and giving them the information they need. So seeing it from their side makes sense because like when you get an internet bill, it just says 150 for the internet
Yeah,
and it doesn't break down like, oh, you've been using all of this stuff and whatnot. So it's nice to know that a firm tells you exactly what's being worked on.
yeah,
So what do you think is probably the biggest bill that somebody might see when it comes to a divorce?
yeah. I mean, like for like the majority of all the cases, I think the most costly part of your case of your matter is if your case goes to trial.
Okay.
Because then it's a whole nother stress, right? So on top of everything that you had to go through to get to this point, obviously because you get to this point because you guys are just not agreeing to a lot of things, and
Yeah.
and you have to go to court
Yeah.
to duke it out. So you're like the the firm is going to ask you to make a huge deposit, right?
Okay.
So over here at our firm, we typically ask our clients to deposit a certain amount of money, uh, like around 30 to 60 days prior to a trial. So that's always going to be like either the same amount of your initial deposit.
Okay.
That's not including all the other stuff to prepare themselves for trial and to prepare the client for trial too. It's not
No.
just them; they have to prepare you as the
Yeah.
client.
And I guess it depends on truly how big your case is, because at least what I'm hearing is why it's so difficult to question just how much is it going to cost
Yeah.
outright, because what you may have versus what I may have, we could be similar on everything, and then I just want the car, and that's just going to end up taking.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've told this to a number of clients in the past. It really, really depends uh, uh, on your level of cooperation.
Mm, yeah.
Like how flexible are you on certain things? How much cooperation do you want to give uh, to the other party? And it's the same thing with the other party too. If they're not willing to budge on anything, and you guys are just going to start filing motions and
Yeah.
oppositions to everything, it's going to drag your case out and eventually take you to trial. And even at trial, sometimes things don't get settled even after trial, and then you're
Yeah.
going to have to go back to court again. It just drags on. It just really depends on, like, on where you guys are at.
Makes sense. So then I kind of want to change topic here. Something that I've heard a couple of times. What are attorney's fees, and how does that affect billing at all?
I actually, like, it shouldn't, because a lot of clients get confused by by them winning attorney's fees.
Mhm.
I've had like a couple of people actually contact the firm, and this past week about they were awarded attorney's fees. How does that affect their bill? My answer to that is always, yeah, congratulations first off that you were awarded attorney's fees, but those fees were awarded to you, not to the firm.
Okay.
Okay, so when a judge says, "Hey, okay, I'm gonna, order the opposing party to pay you $5,000," that $5,000 is awarded to you, not the firm.
Okay.
So you, as a client, still have an obligation to the firm to pay the attorneys. So
Okay.
even if you're still waiting for those fees to get paid to you, you still have an obligation.
Okay, so kind of like insurance, how if you wreck a car, the insurance pays you out. All of a sudden, you still have a wrecked car, and you need to fix the car, but now
Yeah,
you have a bit of that money to be able to
yeah.
go. That makes sense to me. Well, this has been genuinely eye-opening. Good having you, Mike.
Thanks, Anthony. I initially had a beef with you for not inviting me sooner, but I'm glad that we've had this talk, and
Oh,
I hope to
fantastic.
have to do this some more.
And if you're listening to this and you're trying to figure out what your specific situation might look like, the best thing you can do is get a consultation. Not to get a number, but to understand what you're actually dealing with. Once you know what kind of case you have, you can make smart decisions. You can reach us at rosenblumlawlv.com. That is www.rosenblumlawlv.com. Remember to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with somebody you think might need it. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to The Difficult Divorce. Follow, review, and share if this helped cut through the noise. Find more tools and real talk on our website at rosenblumlawlv.com. And be sure to tune back in for the next episode. Because in divorce, what you don't know will cost you.